My identity is to be from India for the world. I'm very clear about that. My favorite part of the show is not the applause. It is when the lights come down and people shuffle. Lights have gone down and people are like, okay, chalo, shuru hone wala hai. If I think back on moments, I don't really remember any successes. I remember how funny the confusion was.
So I mean, as I said, I actually didn't feel I was reading a book. It was just that I was just having a conversation with you. And the good thing about this is that I found it very
Mhm.
relatable because, you read memoirs where everyone's saying, I was born like this and see what I made of my life. And you're like, ye to mujhse na ho paya.
Yeah.
But here is this guy, that's you, who's saying, hated hated school, didn't know what to do in life, and here I am. It just all worked out. So, I mean, and the theme of the outsider, as you said, it's
Mm.
everywhere. Now you were the kid in, growing up in Nigeria, whether you was the kid who moved to Noida, or whether
Yeah.
it was that poor guy who was washing dishes in
Yeah.
Chicago. Where
Yeah.
that point in life when you actually thought that outsider wasn't just an experience, it was basically the theme that defined you.
You have to own your life story. Do you know what I mean? And you have to find gratitude in the kind of journey that you've had, whatever kind of journey that you've had. You know what I mean? And I think weirdly for me, I have found a certain amount of gratitude in how confused I've been. And please don't get me wrong. Wonderful things have happened in my life. I've had a wonderful career. You know what I mean? The payoff has been massive. So at no point do I disregard that. But if I think back on moments, I don't really remember any successes. I remember how funny the confusion was. You know what I mean? And I remember how funny the cluelessness was. And I've kind of been this idiot who's been invited to some very cool rooms, yeah, and some very cool parties, and मैं कोने में बैठ के सोच रहा हूँ यहाँ घुसा कैसे मैं, you know what I mean, पहुंचा कैसे मैं, and बोले खाएं, should we chat, should we not, are we going to get kicked out at any second, and I somehow I feel like that might be a quite broad sentiment for people there, like very few people have achieved. The kind of success that warrants a massive memoir. You know what I mean? I'm not in that list. I'm on this list of people who are kind of drifting and still searching. But I think that's a pretty wide audience. So that's the story I wanted to tell, you know?
Of us now know what we want in
Yeah,
life because
yeah,
also the good thing now is everyone is reassessing their life, wanting to
yeah,
know like maybe this is not because we've all been conditioned. You were
yeah,
conditioned for economics,
yeah,
and here you are.
yeah.
But also another thing is, as you said, you're somebody who fills in the silence, when
Hmm.
you're on stage
Yeah,
with your words. Now when you were writing and piecing your life together, now you also have that hindsight.
yeah,
It's happened.
yeah.
Now I can sit and was it cathartic in a way when you were piecing it all together and memories coming out and filling in those silences because उस time तो यार बेचारा जो वैष्णो देवी गया TM कर रहा था you could relate to those things. I mean, and suddenly your Alabama tryst, I mean, you went for big
Hmm.
things and you were like, it's not meant for me. So what was that like? Was it really cathartic putting this all together?
Yeah, it did cause a certain amount of reflection, but I don't think, you have to remember this is like a midlife memoir. You know what I mean? So it's a mid-journey memoir. So ऐसा कुछ ज्ञान अभी आया नहीं है दिमाग में that I can reflect on. I think maybe when I'm 80 or something like that, the reflection on it, this thing. But I wanted to write this now because I do think the discussion of confusion should be had midstream and not in retrospect. On the other end of the stream. That's not fun. You know. So I wanted to write a book that said, I'm still searching for answers. Maybe you are too. I still feel like I have a lot to do. Maybe you do too. I still feel like I've accomplished maybe 30% of the goals that I set out for, and 70% abhi pahad. I have to climb these mountains. Maybe you do too. But uh, I just thought all of this shit was funny. It's a weird, wherever you come from, etc., etc. For some reason, I've had a pretty global upbringing. You know, It's weird for an Indian kid to wind up in Africa and Alabama and Chicago, and it's quite, I've uh, in my 40s, I realized I've seen the world more than most people have seen the world. I've seen the world thrice. Who the hell gets to say that, at this young age? Um, so I thought that would be an interesting story. There's no reflection. It's still a search. I say that at the top of the book as well.
True that, because early 80s, I mean, most of us in
Yeah,
India were only aspiring to go abroad, foreign country, going to
yeah,
Mohan
yeah,
Singh place and getting your Levi's stitched and all. But you were
yeah.
already living that life, which you did mention. But also, did writing without, when writing about yourself, feel like performing without the safety net of humor? Because there is a lot of humor here. But when you're piecing your life together, I don't think those situations were humorous when you were living through them. I mean, those were like
No, not
tough.
at all. But I try to approach it from the writing perspective of if you tell somebody a story, verbally tell somebody a story, right? It is going to be either a humorous take on that story or a tragic take on that story. Those are really the only two options that a friend sits you down with, right? And if it's a good story, right, it's usually humorous or it's tragic, right? I didn't really want to tell a tragic story. I'm also dyslexic, so I talk first, write second. I think first, write second, which is why I think you said the memoir has a more spoken tone because that's kind of how I put it together. I just talked into a Zoom recorder and then put it down on the page, you know what I mean, and then made it good, on the page. But the first draft came not on page; it came from mouth, in that sense. So I just wanted to tell a funny story. Yeah, it's not fun to be bullied, and I think there are many people who are in that process right now. It's not fun to fail, at a job that you thought you were going to be good at. It's definitely not fun to find out that a job you thought was going to be fun is not the job for you and something else is the job for you. I thought I would be a killer VJ man. And then, it turns out I'm not a VJ, etc., etc. So those things aren't fun in the moment, but they're definitely funny in the moment. I do think even within the moment, I had an ability to say, "Oh, this shit is hilarious," and someday it'll be comedy. You know?
The way you've written it, everything about from the poor guy who was getting his ass busted in Sanar and all. And I mean, what you've said, the teachers actually didn't know any better, because even in my school, maro bas and bacha seekh jayega, which now today nobody's going to take this shit.
Yeah,
Literally.
I mean, but also, I mean, we should give some credence for the fact that this is like it's 1999. Yeah. You know what I mean? Who the hell knows anything at these moments in time, right? So,
I know.
the world evolves. But again, like I said, in this book, there are people who've impacted me well, and there are people who've impacted me, sometimes traumatically. I'm equally grateful for both of them. There is a story about being caned by a teacher, but um, uh, and there is a story of being loved by a teacher standing up to my family in
The
DPS Noida.
professor who said that, yeah,
So, but please make no mistake, I'm equally grateful for both teachers. I feel like I have a stage presence, and it comes equally from both of those teachers. So uh, it, I think that's the middle ground to find on it.
and also the vulnerability is when you spoke about your dad,
Yeah,
when America used to go for the first time. There, when I was reading that there, I could see that it was emotional for you. And then,
yeah,
of course, that chapter dedicated to Watson, because one
yeah.
does, come across those aspects, because the rest you're just like, ha ha, ye hua, ab
Hmm.
haslo. But what was like the toughest chapter for you to write, really? And you were like, this one is like going to be heavy, heavy stuff.
I mean the Watson chapter for sure. I mean, some people think I'm an idiot for writing an entire chapter about a dog. Maybe perhaps people don't do that, etc., etc. But uh, uh, it was the toughest to write. It was the only time during the audiobook narration that I broke down. You know what I mean? I just think, if you could be the person that your pet sees when they look at you, we would all be better people, you know,
I totally agree
because
with that.
they do not see what you're chasing. They don't see your LinkedIn profile. They just see an idiot who dances around the room with innocence for their joy, and I think if we could all bring some of that to our workplace and to our, to our children and to our spouses, we'd be better people. So I don't know. That was the very, very hard chapter for me. Also because I missed his death. That's in the chapter. I was locked down elsewhere, so I definitely carry that with me. And I think many people are struggling with grief of different kinds.
I couldn't get through to that chapter because the grief felt personal. I'm being
Yeah,
extremely
yeah,
honest about
yeah.
that. And also, you talk about heartbreak, you talk about hustle, you talk about those big moments until the Denzel in your voice came way later than, things have happened.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen it all. You have seen it
Hmm.
all. So, I mean, what was it like? Were the moments that you felt, मैं शायद ये ना लिखूं, मैं इसको tone down कर दूं, or you were like, to hell with it. I have experienced everything. Let it be the way it is.
Well, I don't think you can write a memoir that doesn't encapsulate everything. You know what I mean? You can't write a. I don't like an arrogant memoir, and I don't like a memoir that chronicles successes. Right. So if you look at my life, this memoir chronicles pretty unremarkable things, but from a humorous perspective. It's a memoir about little things, not big mountains. Right. So you got to talk about the dark times. You got to, and I think, look, it's not like I can, it's not like any controversy that I've been through, the two, three of them. It's not like
Yeah,
they've not been written about. You know what I mean? It's not like they've not been on the primetime news. So I mean, hiding them from a memoir would not exactly be an accomplished mission. No, like if you talked about it on the primetime news, I think I have a right to talk about it in my book. Yeah, saying like
absolutely.
we both know it happened. You know, so yeah.
I just felt you reclaimed your own narrative because there were times when you said, just before the Emmys, that the junket, when it had just happened, should I say, should I
Yeah.
not? A whole lot of things. I also, did you feel that you were just reclaiming your own narrative back? It's just, this is why, because we always see one side of the story. We never like hearing two parts, and if we hear both sides, we always have our own third argumentative opinion.
It's really it's written, for somebody who doesn't know who I am.
Yeah.
That's the idea. So, I didn't want it to be indulgent in terms of मैं अपनी कहानी वापस ले रहा हूँ. You know what I mean? Also keep in mind my narrative. What is a controversy? It's 2 weeks, yeah, and then people move on with their life. And now it's 1 week, and then people move on with their life, right? So, um, in retrospect, in the grand scheme of things, it's not really a big thing. That narrative getting taken away from you, etc., etc. But if there's anything you should know from that chapter for anybody who might get into a controversy, is to let you know that it's literally just 2 weeks. You know what I mean? And then you have to sit with yourself. So if
Absolutely.
that chapter gives you nothing else, that should be the takeaway from that chapter saying, yeah, just shut up for 2 weeks and you're gonna be fine, you know.
What did you discover about yourself while writing this?
I think that I'm extremely blessed. That's all I've really discovered from this. Really, I'm 5 foot 8.5 from Noida, and the odds that I would be able to do any of this stuff is just a blessing. Yeah. I was telling my wife the other day, it is a weird life to spend 80% of your life with strangers. You know what I mean? Not everybody has that kind of life. Yeah, and the trade-off is massive, of course, but you spend 80% of your life with people you don't know, right? But then you get to the middle of your life and you discover, oh, I'm really the product of the kindness of strangers, whether it is Susan in Alabama, or whether it is, a Sujit Khanna in DPS Noida, or whether it is an Ivan Davidson, or whether it is, it's really just, you come out of it extremely blessed.
No, absolutely. And also, someone who, I mean, I can call you the global misfit also, because, you've spent your life all over, I mean,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
continents and in different countries. So, did also seem the audience also everywhere has responded very differently to you.
yeah.
So, was that also kind of influenced your story? Because when you were writing it, I mean, you are the global misfit. I mean, it's for
Well,
anyone who feels misfit.
it's a book that's for a global audience, unapologetically. But so there are times when I will take time to explain an Indian thing and take 5 extra lines to say by the way, this is our version of that in context, etc., etc. But I always found that an Indian crowd is very patient with that. You know, last night I was at Harvard Business School. All right, today I'm going to Yale to talk about this book. Now we were in this Harvard Business School classroom where presidents have sat, and senators have sat, and Indian politicians have sat, etc., etc. And I spoke to them about the Andheriya Mode ki Chudail last night. Right now, in that moment, um, Desis love it because I'm taking you home. But there are Harvard professors of political science and who have doctorates who are like, what the hell is a Andheriya Mode ki Chudail? And Desis want to see you explain. हाँ भाई, how will you explain Andheriya Mode ki? Even I want to see. कैसे समझाएगा American को? Um, my identity is to be from India for the world. I'm very clear about that. So this book is that too, you know?
It's so interesting. You said you were at Harvard, you're going to Yale, and there was this young boy who changed two buses from Noida, went to USIS, sat in
Yeah.
SAT Dunga, TOEFL Dunga. What if that kid, what if you were to meet that kid, if I put you in a time capsule, what would you tell him today? कि भाई येल में तो अपनी किताब के बारे में, you'll be promoting your book. Or for that matter, that young boy who was looking at his compound in Nigeria, or that one who was so bored to death in his grandparents' home, what would you tell him?
I would tell him you have an inescapable willpower that when you decide you're going to do something, you make it happen. But um, be patient with the fact that when you get there, it will probably be something else. Uh, that your willpower will lead you to a destination, and the destination, and then be open when you get there, because the destination will be nothing like what you thought it was going to be, and be open to that experience.
But if you would, I mean, if that boy, somebody had told him, you think he would have believed it that this is going to happen
No
after
chance,
saying,
no chance, no, not at all, not at all. But then, you know, one college essay changed my life. Really, if you think about it, really, all my life, writing has kind of changed my life. If you think about it, one college essay, there is no way we could afford a US education. कोई chance ही नहीं था. You know what I mean? And the lady at USIS very clearly told me that. You know, there's a line in the
for
book where she says it's not for some people. You
some
know,
people, the
she
bubblegum.
used the word folks. I still remember that. She said it's not for some folks, and I just remember thinking, who are folks? You know, but one essay got me a $27,000, and the college cost $29,000. You know, that's such a an incredible life change because of writing.
Absolutely. And also applause. I mean, दिल्ली बेली एंड बाय द वे वो जो जा चुड़ैल गाना था वो कहीं पे आरती के लिए तो नहीं सोचा था जब वो गाना I was like
Not at
that
all, not
song
at all.
and I'm like that
Yeah,
Aarti. Okay, anyway, from Delhi Belly, we are not going to talk about
yeah,
Masai Sade. Then we have
hmm,
Emmys and we have Full Volume, Call Me Bay.
yeah.
How does that applause feel now? I mean, it's a tremendous song. I mean, I would say it's a
Uh,
tremendous
uh,
song.
I'm. I don't say this to be fake, but I'll tell you my favorite part of the show. My favorite part of the show is not the applause. It is when the lights come down and people shuffle. You know, lights have gone down and people are like, okay, chalo, shuru hone wala hai. You know what I mean? And then they are putting their phone off. They're settling in there. I can hear, you sit backstage and you can hear 9,000 people get ready, and you realize the expectation that is on you, and the joy that they could unlock if you meet their expectation. And so for me, that's the most exciting part of everything. For this book, it is the expectation that it could unlock joy in people. For Happy Patel, it is that maybe they'll like this song that I've created, and this thing with Call Me Bay again. It's another example of I went into it really saying this is a blessing, blessing, blessing. I'm not your. If you think of a Dharma project, I'm not a name on that list quintessentially. If you think about it, right? I didn't expect to be in season two. I start shooting it in 3 days. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of like, my God, there's all these expectations, and it's an opportunity to unlock some serious joy. That's it. It's not applause at all. I like the pressure.
The character reminds me of somebody I worked with back in the day, long years ago.
I think, yeah, yeah. I think I get that a lot. So yeah,
Oh my God, it was deja vu. I was like,
yeah,
Bhagwan, do karo.
yeah,
But
yeah,
also the fact that you're talking about films, like I liked the bit about Shahrukh Khan, because Kabhi
yeah,
Haan Kabhi Na you mentioned, that's also my favorite film. Also the
yeah.
fact that when he called you, I mean, it takes a lot because both of you are around the same time, are going through a very tough time. And it tells you about humility, and the kind of stardom that man has. I don't think none of us can achieve it, but also the humility. So I just wanted to ask you because you actually mentioned him. There is that Mr. Bachchan in KBC Wala moment, but Shah Rukh
Hmm.
Khan is one star, I think, celebrity that you've actually focused a lot more on than the rest.
Because I was able to write for him at a very young age for the Filmfare Awards, and I'm one of 40,000 people who have probably written an ad or a joke or a something for him. But it was very, very valuable to be young and be in the room with greatness. That young, you can learn a lot, you know. And I think being with Delhi Belly was my second film, I think, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when Delhi Belly came out, Amir had just was shooting Talash, editing another movie, promoting with us, and just working. My God, 19-hour days, And the year before that, I'd written for Shahrukh for Filmfare. So I'd just gotten to see at a very young age what people at the top of their game, the kind of dedication that they have, and the kind of open-mindedness that they have to all levels of talent. So I just learned a lot in a very passive way, just being a fly on the wall. It's been very valuable. So I think your early experiences impact you deeply.
So I like the fact that how he told you, like, if you ever need help, call me. I mean, he didn't have to do it, but he did make that call to you.
I think he does that for everybody. I think I'll be one of 6 lakh Shah Rukh Khan stories and phone calls. You know, in the entertainment industry, everybody's got a wonderful story to talk about that man's friendship and hospitality.
They call him an emotion and they call you the man, the voice. I mean, somebody who, but as we come to the end, has your
Mhm.
process changed? Do you sometimes draw the line? Because we live in very sensitive times all over the world, not only here, har jagah. कि किसी को ठेस, or do you just like go there, just speak my truth, come what may? Because at
You
the
know
end of
what?
the day, film is also about being fearless,
Pooja, I'm trying to scare myself here. I'm trying to do firsts. Like literally, if you look at this week, all right, आज क्या है? आज Tuesday है, right? On Sunday, I wrapped up my Broadway show, which was at the Lincoln Center. It was, 19 shows at the Lincoln Center, which is a deep solo show, right? One man show kind of a vibe, etc., etc. I wrapped that on Sunday. On Monday, I was at Harvard to talk about being an author. On Tuesday, I'm at Yale to talk about being an author. Then I fly straight to Ahmedabad to do Sounds of India, which is like a rock concert for 3,000 people, a massive stand up show. So I'm going from intimate to intellectual to, the rock concert. And then I think the day I'm done with Ahmedabad, the next day is my first day on Call Me Bay season two. And then a few days after that, I'm cutting Happy Patel ka music and all of that stuff. So I'm just literally trying to juggle it all because they effectively 5 different professions. You know what I mean? And you know, I've worked a lot. I've waited a long time to be this exhausted.
awesome. Is there something that you can't do?
Sleep right now. I can. I just don't have the time to. So I will eventually.
Will we see this in a series? Because I would love to see this.
I very much doubt it. I think I had one book in me for this 40 years, and this is that, and that's it.
So
We'll see.
we'll wait for the next chapter. And lastly,
All right.
hosting the Emmys or winning the Emmys again?
Neither. Being featured in the Amul ad after the Emmys and having Bachchan sir say my name on KBC, greater than both of them.
Awesome. Lovely chatting with you. All the
All
very
right.
best. And
Thanks.
also, congratulations. A lovely read. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Cheers. Take care.
You
Bye.
too.
If you've liked this interview, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram.